all just kind of through halfway or so of spring?
I mean, things are going really well. We have basically our whole install in, so now it's just cleaning things up. Yeah, I mean, it's trying to get guys a lot of reps and trying to get our full defensive roster up to speed, because initially when we're installing, just trying to get guys that really know already what they're doing and have been a part of the defense already, so they're the foundational guys. They show the new guys how to do it, and then these guys now we're trying to get caught up to speed, so you saw a lot of those guys getting a lot more reps today.
Any one aspect that you've seen the most growth from practice 1 until tonight?
I guess I'd have to watch the film. I think the understanding of some of our mixed down calls and why we're running them. I think our first group and really deep into our second group understands the reasoning and why we make these calls in certain situations, and they're executing for the most part. We just got to get some of the younger guys and some of the newer guys up to speed, and that's going to come here in the next couple weeks.
Coach, with so many new faces in the secondary, talk about like how that group has been coming along, kind of rebuilding that secondary from last year.
It's been great. I mean, we got a lot of competition at every position: the free safety, the strong safety, the nickel, and at both corner spots, and guys all have strengths. So it's really trying to figure out and really trying to challenge these guys to learn what we're doing, why we're doing it, and getting those guys to understand that. We don't want them to compare themselves to maybe another guy at their position, because I keep telling them, if you're good enough and I feel like, you understand the process and you apply yourself the way that you need to and you're able to do it on the field, we're going to find a role for you and you're going to have a role. So imagine yourself, especially for the newer guys, imagine yourself and who you're going to be a week from now, 2 weeks from now, during the season, when all these calls and our adjustments and our coverage checks and our terminology is all just second nature to you.
What growth have you seen, mixing and matching, but from the linebacker core to this point?
They're getting better and better. And Coach Creek does a great job developing those guys. He pours into those guys, and that room is so receptive. We really feel like we have a lot of depth, and it's really the same thing. Those guys they have strengths. And we're going to use those guys that have maybe bigger strengths in certain situations than other guys. So we're challenging our guys right now to receive all the information, be able to apply it on the field right now.
What's your take on the defensive line? Obviously, Coach Reynolds coming in and more depth there for you guys. What have you seen in progress there?
Yeah, it's a great group. They bring a lot of energy, that group, and there's a lot of competition, obviously, but you just see the size of that group and the depth of that group, and that gets you really excited. When you look at our football team, we're a bigger, more physical-looking football team, and we just have a lot more bigger bodies on this team. So it's exciting, and we're still figuring out, what those guys can do and what their strengths are, and we feel like we're in a much better position right now than we were a year ago.
When you bring so many transfers on the defensive line and linebacker, a lot of been there, done that guys, 1 year, 2 years ago left. Have you seen it in spring? Just that experience really coming to fruition.
Yeah,
even though it's a brand new environment.
Yeah, 100%, especially on the defensive line. A lot of those guys played a lot, like Watley and
Clark.
Yeah, Clark. Those two guys. I mean, especially those guys. Just it's plug in. Kangaika. I mean, those three guys. They just come in. You tell them it a couple times, and they get it right. They're very receptive to coaching. They're great guys. They've really assimilated into our culture, and it's fun to have those guys. It's fun to coach those guys.
Phil, several true freshmen take a lot of team community snaps this spring. You mentioned how you're trying to have them envision the progression from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. How have those conversations, those interactions been?
I mean, it's kind of 50 first dates with a few of them, and a few of those, but a few of those guys, they're very. I mean, a few of those guys they're really, really sharp. I mean, they pick it up, and there's been a couple standouts too, and the rest of those guys we're just patient with, because freshmen, they have it. It's just different. It's different for them. They're in a new environment for the first time. They're new coaches, new terminology, and the terminology usually is on a whole nother level than what they're used to. Some of them are used to it. Most of them aren't in terms of the volume of it as well. So trying to keep up, especially at the pace that we're trying to install right now, being our second year, it's hard for those guys. They got new friends, there's new faces, they're away from home. You know, even the paint on the wall and the ground underneath their feet just feels different. So we really don't expect it out of them, but what we bring them in for is so they can learn, get caught up to speed, so they're that much further ahead. They're that much further ahead, especially come their second, third year. Those guys are ready to be people we can count on.
Coach, how important is the veteran leadership from people like Ed Woods and Shamar Simmons in that secondary to help all the new transfers and the new freshmen coming in?
Yeah, huge. I mean, you love Shamar's patience and how he communicates with those guys, and he gets respect from all of those guys because they know what type of person he is and how humble he is and how hardworking he is, and a guy that's that tough. I mean, he really can. He can set the culture for your team and for your room. And Ed, Ed is he's the embodiment of he's just businesslike, and he's really quiet, but he's super competitive, and he's a guy that he just kind of does everything right. The way he approaches, he has a businesslike approach to every day, and that just really sets a great culture for that room. So those guys are really invaluable, along with about a half a dozen other guys for us on defense.